In the last 2 months, I've spent over $100,000 on inventory for Q4 in my online arbitrage business. Freaking out a little bit, not crazy. I remember last year being in the same situation. I spent about $77,000 in October, November. So definitely have spent a lot more. I'm gonna try to help you guys. A lot of people have been reaching out to me. Hey, I'm kind of freaking out. This is the most I've ever spent. I'm over leveraged, all this kind of stuff. And I'm gonna kind of go through based on my experience last year. Like I said, last year I was freaking out. This year, I'm not freaking out as much, we'll say. And I kind of wrote down some things here, kind of how I wrap my head around this, how I think about this, try to help you guys not freak out and just be like, hey, it's a good thing. Let's get this going. So, number one, a lot of what has happened, you have to just trust your gut that you made the right decision and just let it play out. So I'll give you an example with hypothetical numbers. I was on this one product. One of the things that is freaking me out a little bit is I'm more shallow than I am deep this year, meaning I don't have as many ASINs. So I like to approach selling on Amazon in general as having a lot of ASINs. So my money is spread across, let's call it 150, 200 ASINs at every given time. Right now, I would say a lot of that $100,000, like 50 to 60 of it is tied up in a handful of products. So that is kind of like a little harder to wrap my head around. But on one of those products, hypothetical numbers, there was like 20 sellers on the listing. And I watch these listings every day, which I don't suggest doing, but one went from 20 to, let's just call it 80 sellers. And I was freaking out. I was like, oh man, maybe you made the wrong decision. How could you have missed this? All this kind of stuff. Guess what? That listing is back down to about 30 sellers. And now I'm like selling through a good chunk of my inventory. So looking and stressing and looking at like what you bought every day, looking at those listings is not helpful, because I already purchased the inventory. And maybe eventually down the line, I'm gonna have to make a decision. Hey, it's time to let this inventory go. Or the seller count is keeping climbing. Maybe I want to make a different pricing choice on the inventory. But really, I was just like, listen, you've been selling, this stuff for a good bit of time. Trust yourself. Like, just know you made the best decision you could with the data you have, and that's all you could do. And then just see how it plays out. So that is one big tip for me. If you've been testing all year long, how these products move, that just trust your gut, be smart about it. If you have to make an adjustment, make an adjustment. But that is number one. Number two, I am selling a lot of stuff that I have sold in the past. I have not really taken on that many new ASINs. If I had to guess, maybe 10 or 15 things I've never bought before. I've purchased in the last 2 months. Most of this stuff is just stuff I've bought throughout the year that, isn't usually profitable unless there's a huge sale. There's been a lot of big sales, so that stuff has become profitable. And the price on Amazon have also risen. So when you smash those two together, you get profitable products again. So definitely go through everything you've bought the prior year, the year before that, and just see, is it on sale? Is it profitable now? So a lot of this stuff, and this in my mind makes spending that 100K a lot less risky. I know that the listing's not going to get shut down. I know I'm not going to get a letter from a lawyer. I know a lot of things. I know the bigger sellers on this listing. I know how much buy box rotation I typically get, how it spreads out. So, you know, every time you take on a new ASIN, you add a risk to the business because it could get deactivated. You don't know kind of the history. Will you get buy box share? Will you not? So just selling items that I have sold in the past and already familiar with, how much I could move. If you use Inventory Labs, that is great. You could go to ASIN profitability, drop in the ASIN, and then select all, and it will show you how much you've made on that inventory, how much you've sold. You could also do the same exact thing if you go to FBA sales in Inventory Labs, put your ASIN in, and we'll show you every single sale you've gotten, how much money you've made off of it, how quickly it's sold, all that kind of stuff. So that has really helped kind of solidify my decisions. Number 3, I have a sounding board of about 4 to 5 people. So before I really invested like the 50, 60K in the products I did, I asked people, I was like, hey, what do you think about this ASIN? You know, these are friends of mine. I know they're not going to go buy this. If they want to buy the ASIN, that is fine. I don't worry about stuff like that. They are doing other things that I'm not. So it's always helpful to be like, hey, what do you think about this? What am I missing? That is like the question I ask. And out of the 5 people, everyone's like, I think this is a great idea, which is rare. But just based on showing them the history, I showed them everything. Most people would be like, well, like, I'm going to cut off this. Like, no, I was just like, listen, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? Would you do this? Would you be stressing out about this? All this kind of stuff. And they were just like, no, I think this is a good play for you. If the numbers you have are correct, your own sales data is always the best, then I think this is a great decision. You should do really well with this stuff. I've already seen a lot of success with these ASINs. I probably did not buy enough, which sucks. But on the other hand, I don't want to be stuck with it. So I would always rather sell out than not be stuck with product. Number 4, I felt the same way last year. I was freaking out. I said to myself, oh man, like what happens if these plays don't work out? What are you going to do? You know, all this kind of stuff. And it worked out. And that's not to say that every time it's going to work out, but I think it will. And you just kind of got to go with your gut and just know, like I said before, that you made the best decisions you possibly could. Selling on Amazon, I almost have come to the realization, is almost kind of playing poker. Basically, you're just making bets on ASINs. You're looking at your hand, looking at the board, and thinking, okay, I think this is a good bet. This is what I'm going to put down. And then hopefully you win, or what you lose is very little. And that's kind of how I look at it. Based on what I know, based on the data I have, based on the data I'm seeing, this is a good buy. Anytime you're spending a ton of money, especially if you're not spending, you know, if you're not used to spending 100K in 2 months, right? It's going to be like, whoa, like this is a ton. But it is Q4. This is where a lot of sellers make a majority of their money, me included. And I'm going to take advantage of that. And I just have to make the assumption that I did the right thing. And if it doesn't work out, I will figure it out. I think that's another thing to consider, right? What if this all doesn't work out? Like, think about it. For me, if it all doesn't work out, a lot of the stuff I am on, I just can't see the scenario where I don't break even on it. That is not the goal. But just kind of keep that in mind. You know, it's going to be fine. You're going to figure it out. And please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.